Could the Steelers be targeting Pitt Panther legend Jordan Addison after a recent DUI? We're going to break that down at the top of today's show. Then we'll get into the upcoming season of Hard Knocks, where, of course, the Steelers and the rest of the teams in the AFC North will be featured. Cam Heyward isn't too much of a fan of it. I'll let you guys know what Cam had to say about Hard Knocks this year. And then make sure you guys stick around for my take here on will Van Jefferson boom or bust here during the 2024 campaign. But before we get into all the Steelers content we got lined up for you today, we are less than 100 subscribers away from moving up the power rankings here at Chat Sports, passing the Chiefs report. And if this isn't enough to get you to click that subscribe button, guys, here's what Harrison Graham, the host of the Chiefs report, had to say about Steelers Nation. Steelers Talk may have had a good month in June, but there's no way Chiefs Kingdom allows those fraudulent Steelers fans to pass us this month. Hey, Steelers fans, how many Super Bowls do you guys have in the last decade? We have 3 of them, babies. Suck on that, yins. So listen, guys, a lot of you guys watching the show, you guys are longtime viewers. You guys are real ones. You already clicked that subscribe button. You guys can't help us out here. It's the new viewers, the people watching us for the first, second, or third time that haven't clicked that subscribe button yet. I promise you guys, if you click that subscribe button, try us out for a week. The only regret that you're going to have is that you didn't subscribe sooner. So click that subscribe button right now, and let's get into the news and rumors of the day. And of course, Russell Wilson, the new Steelers quarterback, has been working out at UCLA, of course, in Los Angeles, getting ready for the 2024 campaign. You guys know that there's no quarterback in the NFL that works harder than this man right here, and he had a collection of players, both in-house for the Pittsburgh Steelers and outside of the building, working out with him. The Steelers that were in attendance are wide receivers Quez Watkins and Scotty Miller, as well as running backs Najee Harris and Aaron Shampklin. And then the non-Steelers that were in attendance, DK Metcalf, Russ's former teammate and one of his best friends, currently playing for the Seattle Seahawks. Jordan Addison, former Pitt Panther and current Minnesota Viking. Then John Ursua, who has been a receiver that has worked out with Russ over the last several off seasons. You guys can see some of the pictures that Russ put up on Instagram this weekend. Of course, there is Quez Watkins, Russell Wilson, Scotty Miller, and then DK Metcalf all the way on the right. Then you can see Jordan Addison there kneeling down with the football at UCLA as he was working out with Russ this weekend. Now, when it comes to Jordan Addison here, okay, this weekend he was arrested for a suspected DUI on Friday night. Of course, he worked out with Russell Wilson after this event, and since this has happened, all right, the Minnesota Vikings definitely don't seem too pleased with Addison because this is not his first speeding incident. Let's just put it that way. And Addison kind of responded here by deleting all posts on his Instagram pertaining to the Minnesota Vikings. And this is something that NFL players do all the time to kind of let the team know without having to have that direct conversation that I'm not happy with you guys right now. So the big question on a lot of Steelers fans' minds today is, could Jordan Addison be a Steeler? Of course, he is a Pitt Panther legend. He won the Biletnikoff Award with Kenny Pickett throwing him the football a few seasons back. Then, of course, he went to USC, then got drafted by the Vikings, and now you telling me it's a coincidence that he travels out to LA to work out with the current Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback? I mean, I certainly think it would be a lot of fun, man, especially because the Steelers desperately need a number 2 receiver to kind of come up out of nowhere here, whether that's Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin III, but it could be Jordan Addison. If you get him, he is your bona fide number 2 receiver. Now, I will say it's unlikely. Okay, because, I mean, the Vikings spent a first-round pick on this dude just last year. I don't think that they're going to really want to unload him or anything like that. Plus, the Steelers seem like they want to go into training camp with Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin III, Roman Wilson, all these guys battling it out to see kind of who rises to the top and who kind of falls behind. So this is what I would offer the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for Jordan Addison. I'm not sure if the Vikings would take this. I'm not even sure if they would entertain trading Jordan Addison at this point. But what I would offer, I'd give Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the GM of the Vikings, a call if I were GM Omar Khan. I'd say I'd give you our second-round pick next year. You can take it or leave it. I'm not going to raise it anything higher than that. But what would you guys do? Let me know down there in the comment section. Would you accept this trade if the Vikings were willing to do it? Type A if you would accept and bring Jordan Addison back to the city of Pittsburgh, or type D for decline. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So another receiver that was present at these workouts is Josh Ursua. who is a former University of Hawaii wide receiver that spent one season with Russell Wilson there with the Seattle Seahawks. He got cut, and he hasn't been back in the NFL since then, or at least he hasn't played in a regular season game. Now, he's pretty old, all right? He was old coming into the league at 25 years old back in 2019. Now he's all the way up to 30 years old. Kind of a smaller guy, 5'9", 182 pounds. Played with Russ back in Seattle in 19, and he's worked out with him every single offseason since. So you could certainly make the argument here. Could the Pittsburgh Steelers be interested in bringing in John Ursua here as a free agent to kind of have another camp body here? You look at his RAS score all the way back in 2019. The 40-yard dash was a decent time. It's definitely not great, 4.56. He did play pretty well in the preseason for the Seahawks there in 2019, ended up making the final roster, and he had one catch during the 2019 season. So it's definitely possible that Russ is like, hey, I've got some good chemistry with this guy. Maybe he would be a decent addition to this wide receiver room. But I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to bite on it, man. He hasn't been in the league since 2019. According to Ursua, he said on a podcast that his representation has been in contact with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe Russell Wilson is getting on the phone, telling Omar this guy can play. Who knows what's going to happen, but if I had to predict it, I don't think Ursua will be a Pittsburgh Steeler this year. So coming up here, I'm going to tell you what Cam Heyward had to say about being on Hard Knocks this year. Spoiler alert, he's not too happy about it. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, where you can go to chatsports.com/throwback to get this really classic and stylish and really affordable t-shirt from our friends at Fanatics today, just in time for Steelers training camp. I mean, you got the throwback helmet on there. I mean, yeah, it's black, maybe not the best color to wear during summer, but it's short sleeve. I think you could probably survive in it. Go to chatsports.com/throwback right now to get a great deal. And also, if you use that link, chatsports.com/throwback, and you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you want an affordable Steelers t-shirt and you want to help out the channel today, go to chatsports.com/throwback. Okay, so Cam Heyward did a recent interview here where he was asked what he thought about being on Hard Knocks this year, because of course the AFC North is going to be featured on the in-season version of Hard Knocks, and he said that he hated it. I don't want to be on this. The locker room is the locker room, and I just don't want that getting messed up. There's so many inside jokes, so many people. There's so many people, like, you would assume everybody's a jerk if you heard everything. But it comes from a loving place, and it comes from a caring place. We all want to be better, and we joke a lot. We poke and prod at each other, but it doesn't always come off that way. And so that's the only thing I really worry about. So I got a couple thoughts on what Cam had to say about being on Hard Knocks this year and why it could be a challenge. First of all, I think that, I kind of like this format that HBO is doing this year where everybody in a division has to deal with it, right? It levels the playing field because every single team in this division has to deal with whatever distraction this show brings to the table. So it's not like just one team has to deal with it and then the other three teams in the division have an inherent advantage. Everybody has to deal with it this year, which might actually be a good thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if there's any head coach in the National Football League that can really manage the locker room despite this potential, distraction, it's Mike Tomlin. All right, this guy controls his locker room and has the command of his locker room better than just about any head coach in sports today. So if there's any head coach that's going to keep his guys focused throughout this kind of, show and, the cameras being everywhere, it's going to be Coach T. Now, let me know down there in the comment section, is being on Hard Knocks good or bad for this season? Type good if you think it's a good thing, or type bad if you think it's going to be bad. Let me know how you're feeling about the Steelers being featured on Hard Knocks this year. So now let's shift over to Van Jefferson here, where Bleacher Report predicts that Jefferson will be the Steelers' biggest flop in 2024. Of course, the Steelers right now seem like they're going to be going forward with Van Jefferson as somebody that could assert himself as the number 2 receiver on this team. So this is what David Kenyon from Bleacher Report had to say about Van. Van Jefferson put together a solid 2021 campaign on the Los Angeles Rams, tallying 802 yards and 6 touchdowns. Otherwise, though, he's totaled 798 yards in 3 seasons. Pittsburgh, as currently constructed, is counting on Jefferson to hold a significant role. The risk is apparent. So when it comes to Jefferson, man, you can definitely see that it's a boom or bust type of guy because he did have that one productive season with the Los Angeles Rams back in 2021. He's a bigger guy, he's about 200 pounds, can run in the 4.3s. He had over 800 yards there in that Super Bowl winning season in LA, plus he tallied 6 touchdowns. That's who the Steelers are hoping that they're getting. He's still relatively young, but like a Bleacher Report was saying here, his other 3 seasons, he hasn't even combined for the same amount of yards he had in just that one season in 2021. And he's dealt with injuries and all these different things. Was not productive last year either with the Rams or with the Atlanta Falcons, where, of course, Arthur Smith was his offensive play caller. So right now, man, I think that Van Jefferson is going to probably start the season in a rotational role. They're going to try different guys out. They're going to put Roman in there. They're going to put CA3 in there. They're going to put Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller. They're going to give these guys opportunities to prove themselves based on what I have heard and what I have seen from Steelers practices during OTAs. Calvin Austin III was the second most impressive receiver behind George Pickens. And then after Austin, I would say probably Roman is ahead of what Van Jefferson showed us in shorts. But who knows what happens when we get to Latrobe. Now predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Van Jefferson boom or bust in 2024? Type boom if you think boom, or type bust if you think bust. So before I go here, I told you guys that if you gave me a follow on either of my social media accounts, I would give you guys a shout out. So if you want to go follow me on my X account, I am at Jack_Sperry. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at sparedog.football. Really trying to grow my Instagram right now, guys. So if you haven't already, I put up reels on there. I put on daily content. So if you want to help me out on Instagram, I'm at sparedog.football. So the people that followed me on X this weekend, Raymond Bartles, Ryan Macios, hope I'm saying that right, Richard, Tim Brown, Ryan, Brent, Strangier, DeMonte D. Bell, Sean P., Brandon Colburn, Gary, Leo, Jules, Austin, Anthony, Gudu, Glenn, Rodney, Brian, Edgar, Carlos, Daniel, Alexander, and Drake. So thank you guys so much for your support on X. And then when it comes to the Instagram people, the people that have followed me on Instagram over the last 3 days or so, shout out to Lawrence, Steven, Yogi, Big Sway, Josh, Evan, Will, 330 Dot, Long Rip, Mark, JV, Shredded, Triple, Aches, I don't know how to say that, my friend, but I appreciate you, Ziggs, BLK, I don't know, Buki, hope I'm saying that right, my friend, Liam Berkey, Jackson C. Lee, Alexander, Ziegler, Auto ATV, Manyak, hope I'm saying that right, my friend, and then TRW, Lake Life. Thank you guys so much for following me on Instagram. And again, make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already to help us pass the Chiefs report on this video. Let's make this the one where we officially pass the Chiefs report and move up the power rankings here at Chat Sports.